You're listening to Dirty Feet, a dance podcast. I'm Allison Elizabeth Burns. Takako Segawa is a contemporary dancer, choreographer, movement coach, dance theater performer, and teacher of Japanese arts. Born in Japan, Takako trained in both traditional arts and contemporary Japanese movement styles before graduating from the London Contemporary Dance School. Her 20-year career includes performances throughout Europe, Asia, and North America. Takako has been an Ottawa-based dance artist since 2016. Here, she has collaborated with Ted Robinson, Sylvie Desrosiers, and the Ottawa Dance Directive. Her new work, Echoes, Vibrations from Japan to Canada, will premiere at Arts Court this November. Hosted by the Ottawa Dance Directive, the show is directed, choreographed, and performed by Takako, accompanied by a vocalist and several taiko drummers. Thank you so much for speaking with me today, Takako.
Thank you so much, Alison, for having me here.
It's a pleasure. I want to know, so just to start us off with context, you've trained both in traditional Japanese arts and movement styles, and also contemporary Japanese movement styles, and studied at the London Contemporary Dance School. Can you describe for us the major differences between traditional Japanese dance, contemporary Japanese dance, and the Western contemporary dance style?
Sure. In traditional Japanese dance, each movement has a meaning, perhaps similar to in Indian dance, except without emotion. For example, traditional Japanese dancers are wearing kimonos. Kimono is a traditional Japanese costume, which means the leg cannot easily be lifted. So there are more of the sliding motions at the ground level. It's mostly the head and the hand that tells the story during traditional Japanese dance. And with the very small movement, not big ones. It's like with the head turns and, the hands slightly moves. So also because of kimono, the armpits are not raised more than 90 degrees. No. So everything basically happened in the square space around the dancer's body. And again, position and precision and the details to each tiny movement is paramount in traditional Japanese dance. On the other hand, I feel contemporary dance in Japan is more technical than in the West, with more artificial and strict movement, like very strict, like sharp and the precision, not different from Japanese precision, Japanese traditional dance precision. Japanese contemporary dance doesn't have very much human flow or emotions. Everyone looks the same to me. For example, if the piece calls for a 90-degree bodily angle, Japanese dancers would probably measure to get a 90-degree angle. Exactly. Yeah. In other words, it's mostly about the shape of the body in Japan. That's what I would think, looking at the Japanese dance. And I trained in that field. As the Western contemporary dance, to me, it has more individuality based on the person's own life experience and bodily expressions. And it goes from the inside out, not outside in. That's what I aim for as a Western contemporary dancer.
I know that you've also in your young life studied gymnastics, which again shares that precision that you're talking about, but also much bigger than the little box that you are confined to in the costumes that kind of restrict movement. It's much more explosive. So maybe you can add that to the mix and tell us a little bit about how, like, the relationship between gymnastics and the other things you've studied.
Well, although I graduated from Nippon Sports Science University in Japan, Tokyo, Japan, and I trained gymnastics like when I was really little, like 6, 7, like 5, 6, 7, something like that. Because my mom was an Olympic level gymnast, so. But the echoes, that is not really part of echoes, unfortunately. And my training had to end in the age of 7 because my mom was Olympic level. She knew my structure of the body doesn't fit in the higher level. So she said, okay, done. But I always loved being a gymnast or able to tumble, backflip. So I trained my way and I used that into contemporary dance. But right now at age of 48, I will not do those.
All right, noted. We're not going to see any gymnastics in echoes.
No, unfortunately.
But it's always so fascinating to me, like the different like movement information you can feed your body and what that brings out in your work, especially if it's off script, like Western contemporary dance, where you get to kind of let everything that has physically passed through your body be displayed.
Yeah. And European dance at the time when I was learning in Europe, at the time there was a lot of like a flow movement on the ground, like on the floor, which we does it here too. So I loved my first choice movement was on the ground, on the floor, walking like a lizard and flipping from the, so it's a lot to do with the floor movement, which I have in echoes, one part, there's only floor movement, which I may do it, I may not do it. I haven't decided because of my body is different and I don't feel comfortable doing that right now.
All right, fair enough. So it's still in flux. Yeah, I should mention we're talking in July, and this show is in November, so it's not down to the wire yet. You're still allowed to make choices.
That's right.
But speaking of Europe, you've performed throughout Europe, Asia, and North America. What compelled you to land in Canada and in Ottawa in particular?
Yeah, it's a good question. After exploring the European dance world for several years while performing in Greece, yeah, while performing in Greece, I met Maxine Hebner from Toronto, who invited me to work with her, with her in Toronto, Montreal, and we went to Asia together, which I ended up doing for about a decade. And I decided to move here after this contract, pack up my things in Greece and came to Canada and start to find more jobs because, Maxine cannot serve me forever. Depends on the grant and stuff. But I was able to eventually immigrate to Canada after a while, like 5 years later or so. Then when I got pregnant, my husband and I decided to relocate in Ottawa in 2016. Yes, 2016, where it was more affordable and where there's more also the active dance community here in Ottawa. So that's how I became, what did you call the the bird migrate
Yes.
to here.
Wonderful. So speaking of the dance scene here, like working with Ted Robinson and with Sylvie de Rossier, you were, I assume, a collaborator as well as a performer on those projects. And then here, the work we're talking about today echoes you're performing, but you're also directing and you're choreographing. So where for you is the line between dancer or interpreter and choreographer? Or another way of asking it would be, how does your role differ in a work when you are also the choreographer of the work?
Yeah, as a performer and an interpreter, it's more about following the choreographer's vision and imagination. You can say I really need to merge with the choreographer to see their piece through their eyes and my own eyes too, and then let my body express it. So interpreting is this word is very difficult for me. Interpreting is
Interpreting,
yes,
yeah,
is more of a mind reading, soul reading, like heart reading challenge, but one that I really enjoy doing well. On the other hand, that directing and choreographing is having a solid vision that I need to stick to in order to execute my idea. I generally start by seeing images as a director choreographer, and then I need to link those up to fulfill my storyline. And then also as a director choreographer, I need to be able to slightly adapt my vision when I see different bodies performing in ways that I never anticipated. In one way, it's sticking to my vision and not being too wishy-washy, but in another way, being adaptable and fluid enough to incorporate what the other performers are giving me. I have worked with several choreographers, and probably my way and the other choreographers are different. But I personally love collaborating with the performers, how to take the performers' beauty into my piece. That is mostly what my vision goes to. My imagination and my vision on the stage may change because of the performers.
I want to dig into that a little bit more. I love the word collaboration or collaborators because it's so vague in a sense, because different creators will use their collaborators or their performers in different ways. Take different levels of inspiration from them. As you're saying, be flexible to different degrees in what they're seeing and what they're pulling out of their performers. So this work, you're dancing solo, but I assume you're talking about other works too, where you are directing other performers. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So in that scenario, what level of collaboration do you utilize? How do you pull from your performers' inspiration?
Yeah. Well, so this is the first time not really a first time, but collaborating with non-dancers. They are taiko drummers. Mm-hmm. So this time, I am collaborating with dance. I want them to dance as well. Dance means maybe walk, only the walking, along stage. Or maybe the gesture, a little gestures up and down, very simple movement. But I cannot assume that they can do. So I am very much, open-minded to this performance for this piece, Echoes, because not only taiko drummers, we have an opera singer as well, Noriko Hashimoto. So she can dance, everyone can dance. That's my vision, that everyone, I'm doing this, this is already dance to me. It doesn't
just
have to be
small
trained.
Gestures, yeah.
Yeah, small gestures are already, feels like dancing to me. So I want to bring those elements in from their own experience. Of course, the taiko drumming, when they are taiko drumming, they cannot do much. But when they are finished or when they are going to the next phase, I want to make their own kind of feeling integrate into my piece. So that's the collaboration for this piece. But in the other times, of course, I take their movement. Can you express your, can you just move your body in marshmallow way? I don't know. I'm just making it up. But and then they will do it, and then I kind of pick something that I liked and change into how I vision it. So it's so different, like a totally different collaborating ideas in this piece. Am I?
Yeah.
Did I answer well? Okay.
Yeah. I think so. I think it what I'm reading, what I'm understanding of that is like you're in this scenario, you are directing the movement of performers who have experience performing, but not necessarily in a movement style. And in other scenarios where you're working with dancers, you're giving prompts that allow them to interpret in whatever way they want to, and then from that you shape a dance.
Perfectly said.
All right. We're understanding each other. Okay, right. So back to Echoes specifically. You've described the theme in a variety of ways in other interviews, primarily as inspired from the theory that even the smallest flutter of a butterfly's wing ripples around the world to make global change. You're doing butterfly wings. I love it. And I also understand that it relates to your history as an echo of your ancestors' history and of other Japanese Canadians' experiences. And as the subtitle describes, it's an echo of Japan here in Canada. Mm-hmm. Would you like to elaborate on the themes in the work?
Yeah, a theme important to me is about nature and the Canadian landscape. As soon as I arrived, I landed, this earth with its, it's big sky felt like home energetically. I felt a comfort and spiritual energy. And all my five senses were so happy. Another theme in here, echoes is about identity. For example, today I'm so grateful to be part of Japanese Canadian community here in Ottawa. But that is only possible because so many earlier generations here have kept Japanese traditions alive, despite some negative history in the West and, during World War. So now that I'm here in Canada, I can still somehow fit in easily. I feel echo is also gift to my son, which is 8 years old now, who is a Canadian-born Japanese, who and future generations. I want them to feel proud and at home wherever they are. I'm gonna talk about the echoes, the 4 parts. Each echoes part has it's expressed in 4 parts of the piece, and the part 1, cocoon, I call it cocoon, is a soft hypnotic solo dance as a butterfly is born, and the other taiko drummers are kind of watching that. Part 2 is matsuri. It means festival in Japanese. A well-known Japanese taiko piece everyone knows with drummers. And that's I'm doing with drummers, and I'll be in part of a drummer emerging from the shadowy underworld. That's kind of a creepy but energetic. And part 3, Shoganai, the Shoganai, it means it cannot be helped in Japanese. Shoganai. There's no meaning. There's no direct translation in English. So the easiest, the closest one is it cannot be helped. Picks up the Japanese echo in Canada during World War II with the internment of Japanese Canadians. Finally, the part 4, embrace, to explore the theme of healing as the performers celebrate their unique journeys and offering a blessing to vibrate through future generations. I think that's what I ended up expressing, ended up feeling, for audiences,
So given all of that, I want to know why you were compelled to make the work now. And I know it's been in process for years, and I believe the part 3, Shohanya, has had a separate life from Echoes. You've also made a dance video of Echoes during the pandemic. But at this point in your life, at this point in your son's life, at this point in 2024, what makes this the time for this work of yours?
Yeah, good questions. I think in the past, for example, at the London Contemporary Dance School, without any English, I just went there I want to become a professional dancer. While training in Europe, my focus was just on being a good contemporary Western dancer. What does it mean? Western dancer. But, I was trying to fit into the Western mold, not like a Japanese strict, dancers, not expressing my feelings. So I was trying to fit in European, Western mold. But after expressing and experiencing how Japanese Canadian community can both celebrate their sameness or differentness while retaining their heritage, and also having gone through my own growth and having a child, something clicked that allowed me to embrace my heritage without any apology. Yeah.
I want to jump back to the dance video version of Echoes that you created during the pandemic. And
yes,
I understand this was kind of a detour, maybe not necessarily the intention at that time, but of course we all pivoted. So I want to know how that detour into this dance video version of the work informed this stage production that you're working on now that's going to be premiering in November.
Yeah. The film allowed me to step outside the work for sure and see it with the fresh eyes, to realize how beautiful it could be in its full version. My message and its expression just became clearer by making a film. Because I'm not a visual person, really, although I imagine, in my head, but visually, with the screen, I don't usually like the screen as much, but I decided to do whatever I'm against in it. So I dove in during pandemic. That actually made myself aware that, oh, okay, I should be doing more of those.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Was there any significant shift in the direction of the work after doing the video version?
Yes, because I made two versions. One is Echoes with taiko drummers, one with the interment theme, which is with the opera singer. So two different things. And because of those two different themes can be connected, because I was coming from the same, same idea of Echoes. So I thought, okay, this could be together. This could be one piece, full version of Echoes. That's how it became.
Yeah, that's a pretty big shift to integrate both works. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, now we have to talk about the taiko drums and their significance to this work. We have taiko drums playing at the beginning and end of this episode to give our listening audience an idea of what they sound like. But tell us, their significance to the work.
Mm-hmm. My main idea was to take the echoes from the taiko drums and explore those concepts. And I've been always wanting to collaborate with taiko drummers. I have done taiko drumming when I was university time in the traditional Japanese major. There's a what is it called? Traditional Japanese arts. That's how it's called. There was a subject which we all has to take. So I've done that, and I have also choreographed to students, university students of taiko drummers. But it was, it's not that I'm doing it again. It's a different way. I want to collaborate with my dance and taiko drums. That's why my concept became, okay, here there is a community here, taiko community here, and I want to to collaborate with community member taiko drummers. That's the starting point. Also, I wanted to use Japanese women drummers only to balance the traditional idea that only men could be taiko drummers in Japan. So I started by collaborating with two women from Ottawa Taiko, Yurika Murakami and Tomomi Sakajiri. Both of them came from Japan, and they were in a community member for, I think, more than a decade right now. As the piece progressed, however, and more rehearsals were required, they had to drop out, unfortunately, because they are community member and they do 9 to 5 jobs every day. And as you know, the dance world, and dance rehearsals usually are like also 9 to 5 kind of, if you are available, which that is my job. So I needed them to be in the morning to the evening, not only the evening of 3 hours, which is too much for me. Having a son, still small son here. So, but I'll always be grateful to them and to Ottawa Taiko. It's called Ottawa Taiko, for their support and contribution up to now. And now, of course, I'm hiring a semi-professional taiko drummers. One is from Toronto, Heidi Chan, who also composed my music, which they had been actually composing the music before I asked them to be part of it. So it worked out perfectly. And one is from Kingston. She used to be runs the Kingston taiko drumming company, and she does it professionally. And she's also a marimba, profession. Her profession was starting from marimba, so that's very interesting. And one taiko drummer, Melissa Kamibayashi, she's Japanese Canadian, who I believe who grew up here in Ottawa, but she has experienced in Ottawa Taiko community, as well as being Japan, and she was part of a Japanese taiko women drummers communities for many years.
And can we take a moment just to talk about the drums themselves? Like, they're rather large drums, and the drummers mm-hmm. use batons to hit them, right?
Mm-hmm. 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 So I use four different type of taikos. Mm-hmm. One is smaller, like it's a basic, dun 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 dun, keep the rhythm. Mm-hmm. It's called shime, and one is nagado, which is a little bit lower sound and can do a lot of resonate the sound. And one is round and narrow taiko, but they can do both sides. Mm. And the one is a big taiko, which I would hope to use a big taiko, which unfortunately what I'm renting right now, they didn't have a big taiko, so I am replacing it into as mid-size taiko drums to collaborate.
Okay, and I want to see if I'm hearing this right. The movement that you're working on for the piece is like a fusion of kind mm-hmm. of the Japanese styles and contemporary styles, and the mm-hmm. drumming is more traditional style, but then also not, because you're using female drummers. Is that right?
Yes, correct. Yes, female drummer. I mean, yeah, because of the drumming, like taiko drummers' history in Japan is usually like only male. Also, traditional Japanese dance, no, and kabuki, still it is male oriented. Right now, taiko drummer, although the taiko drummers right now, they could even, they could be a women's drummer, the progressive taiko drumming company, they use the women's, but the priority is usually a man, which I wanted to change that. So we are formed with all women's and making things happen.
Great. And then let's take a moment also to talk about the opera singer that is incorporated into the work, and kind of what's the context of that on the traditional contemporary scale, and how does that incorporate into what you're working on?
Right. So in Shogunai, my idea was to take her voice, like operatic voice, but weeping and like growling, not like a beautiful like opera singing, or to have a real like Madame Butterfly, or like the set of a composed piece. I was more flow towards into contemporary. So I wanted her to use her voice in a way that we use in a way that storytelling about what happened to Japanese Canadian internment time. So I took pictures. I chose pictures, several pictures, and made kind of a storyline myself. And I show her that the theme, of the first theme and the second theme and third theme, it's a different set of pictures. And she kind of improvised, which is not likely what she does in her, in herself. But she tried, I loved Noriko tried hard to just meet my imagination. and that's how she took part of Shogunai, the internment part. And because she has done taiko, her son has done taiko, so she knew matsuri, the rhythm already. So I thought, okay, so that you can do too. Yeah.
I'm loving all the connections and the crossroads and the weaving.
Yeah.
Okay, so the big question, who is your ideal audience member for this work, for Echoes, and what do you hope that they take away from it?
Yeah. First of all, I would definitely like to like the piece to be accessible to anyone interested in art and culture or not, including the next generation. Like this is not for kids. This piece is not for kids per se. But I want whether or not they are interested in dance. It's and also for Japanese Canadians to see that their culture can live on and morph in new ways.
I feel like that links back to the precision of the tradition and back to the flexibility and moving forward. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Wonderful. Anything you'd like to add before we wrap up our conversation today?
Don't think so. I think I've said more than I should. That's what I feel. Oopsie. I cannot hide. Yeah, but it's still, this piece is still ongoing to make it on stage. I'm still brainstorming with the stage set designer, with the media projection people. As you know, I don't want the interment part. The pictures are like black and white pictures are like just pictures. I want more like a morph. The contemporary express its own way as a picture, like what I do on stage with taiko drummers and opera singers. So, it is still working in progress. But I would like everyone to see what outcome became.
Yes. So that'll be November at Arts Court Theatre, in collaboration with the Ottawa Dance Directive. Takako, thank you so much for talking with me today.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me to share my new piece with your audience, and also thank you for ODD for forever support for my art. Thank you.
You've been listening to Dirty Feet. I'm Allison Elizabeth Burns. Special thanks to Paula Flalo for ongoing support and guidance, and to past contributors for amassing an almost 200 episode archive available at dirtyfeetpodcast.com. Learn more about me at allisoneb.com. This episode was created thanks to my patrons. If you would like to support the future creation of podcasts, visit patreon.com/AllisonEB to learn more.